Welcome to the Rotherham SENDIAS video around options following the final EHC plan being issued. Additional focus on mediation for the contents of the EHC plan and the school named. So how do you know the local authority have issued a final education, health and care plan? Following the local authority's decision to issue an EHC plan, the local authority will have first sent you a draft plan to look at. This provided you with 15 calendar days to make any comments, request a conversation with the local authority, and name which school or setting you wanted your child to attend. The local authority will issue your final plan at week 20 of the process, and they will do this by sending you a plan along with a letter, or more likely you'll receive an email to let you know to log on to the EHC hub as new information will have been added. The local authority's outcome letter should be dated, and it should also inform you of your options at this point, including timescales for mediation, appeal, and where to gain impartial information, advice and support. So now what? Take a moment to read the contents of the letter and the final EHC plan. Check the plan to make sure any amendments you requested at the draft plan stage have been added, and make a note of where this has not happened. Remember, the EHC plan should contain all identified special educational needs, all identified health and social care needs relating to a child's SEND, education, health and care provision to meet the needs identified, and remember these should be specific and quantified so there's no doubt as to what's being provided. The setting the child will attend or the type of school or setting, yours and your child's views, wishes and aspirations, the outcomes that are being sought, and any detail of a personal budget if one's been agreed. You can find more information about EHC plans in Chapter 9 of the SEND Code of Practice, and there's also a useful document called What to Do When You Receive Your Draft EHC Plan on our website. So what are your options at this point? You can accept the EHC plan. You could consider arranging a time to speak with your named school, SENCO, and use the EHC plan as a basis for your discussion so you're both clear what will be implemented and how. Remember, the EHC plan is a legal document and the local authority are responsible for ensuring it's being fully delivered. You could work towards an annual review in the future. All EHC plans have to be reviewed annually. This will be provided you with an opportunity to discuss progress, consider the provision in the EHC plan, and request any changes based on evidence at that point. You can find more about annual reviews on the SENDIAS website or the Rotherham SEND Local Offer website, and by looking at our video about annual reviews on our YouTube channel. You could decide to mediate. You can contact the mediation company and request a mediation meeting. You can contact the mediation company, would have to be made within 2 months from the date of the local authority's EHC letter, and you can find all their details on the letter and further in this video. Or you could appeal the decision. You can appeal the local authority's final EHC plan, and you have 2 months from the date of the local authority's letter, or 1 month from the date of the mediation certificate, to lodge your appeal. You may wish to take a look at our information on our website and our YouTube channel. We've got a video on there called Things to Consider Before Appealing, before you take this step. The rest of this video will now focus on the mediation process for requesting changes to a final EHC plan by using mediation. Things to consider before you contact mediation. Firstly, consider the contents of the EHC plan. Does the plan contain all the identified special educational needs, health needs and social care needs, or are there things missing? Is the provision outlined in section F, D and H clear, specific and quantified, or does this feel vague and open to interpretation? Is there a provision for every need identified? If you feel there are aspects of the plan that may need further work, then you may wish to request mediation. Secondly, consider the evidence the local authority had available to write the final EHC plan. The EHC team are not able to add information unless they can see this within the evidence available. There may also be some documents where there is mention of a SEND provision, for example, but there may not be any detail of the quantity needed. If this is the case, this too can become part of your mediation discussions. Does the final EHC plan only name a type of setting in section I rather than the name of a specific school placement? Or is the placement named not what you had requested as part of the draft EHC plan phase? If this is the case, then you may also wish to discuss this in mediation too. If considering the information on the previous slides and the evidence you have available, you believe the final EHC plan needs further detail or changes making, then you may wish to contact the mediation service and request a mediation meeting to be arranged. Rotherham Local Authority have commissioned Collis Mediation to carry out the mediations following EHC process decisions. You can contact Collis Mediation via the website at www.collismediationltd.com or phone them on 077 159 58290 or email them at info@collismediationltd.com. Remember, if you wish to mediate, you have to contact Collis Mediation within 2 months of the date of the letter which came with the final EHC plan. If you email Collis Mediation or complete the online form to request mediation, or if when you call it goes through to a voicemail, please leave your name, your child's name and date of birth and your contact details. Please also leave them the date on which the local authority's letter came and the final EHC plan date. The reason you wish to mediate, for example, that you disagree with some of the contents of the EHC plan, such as sections B, C, D, F, G, H or I, and that you are from the Rotherham area. This is important as Collis Mediation have also been commissioned by other local authorities too for the same reason. If you're completing the online form with Collis Mediation, all the details they request are on the form. Collis Mediation will arrange to have a discussion with you about mediation. This is called mediation advice. If you agree at this point to enter into a mediation meeting, then Collis Mediation will work together with you and the local authority to arrange a mediation meeting that's convenient to all. If you decide you don't want to mediate at this point, they will send you a mediation certificate within 3 days. A mediation meeting has to be arranged within 30 days of your request for mediation. So who attends the mediation meeting? There are 3 key parties to a mediation meeting. Firstly, there's yourself, or if the mediation is about a young person over the age of 16, then the young person would be expected to attend. The local authority. The local authority must send a representative who has decision-making powers. This means they would be able to agree to make changes to the EHC plan at mediation if the evidence supported those changes, and the case would not have to be discussed again at panel to make a different decision. The mediator. They're the ones who facilitate the discussions and ensure the meeting runs smoothly. They also capture any agreements in writing to provide a mediation agreement following the meeting. However, you may feel it's also important to have someone to offer you support or to include your school's SENCO or other relevant parties, such as some of the report writers. If you feel this is needed, then please ask the mediator to request this and provide them with the correct contact details. So some practical tips to help you prepare for your mediation meeting. Gathering and sharing additional evidence. Since the local authority issued the final EHC plan, you may have been provided with additional evidence from other services or school. For example, outcomes of health assessments or diagnosis confirmation, reports from other services involved such as educational psychologists or specialist inclusion teams, or updated SEN support plans. If this is the case, please ensure these are shared with the mediator and the designated local authority representative before the mediation meeting takes place. This provides them with the time to read and consider the additional information. Make notes of the changes you wish to see. If you're clear what changes you wish to see in the EHC plan, it can be helpful to put all these on a document to share with the mediator and local authority representative before the mediation meeting. It can also be very helpful to reference where the evidence is coming from, for example, which report and on which page. Remember, any changes that are needed have to be within the evidence. You can see an example of this on the next slide. Make it clear if you have any questions that need answering in readiness for the mediation meeting. If you can see in the EHC plan there is a send provision, but this isn't specified or quantified, and you can see that the evidence doesn't provide this information either, then you may find it helpful to jot this down as a question and include in your notes which person wrote the provision so the local authority knows who to go to for further clarity. So here's an example of a document in preparation for mediation. You'll see that there's requested changes to the EHC plan in one column, which document it's taken from, which page it's taken from in a report, where you'd like to see it in the EHC plan, and any questions. So for example, the top one there talks about Mike experiences sensory processing difficulties, and this particularly affects his ability to filter noise in busy environments. It's from the occupational therapist report, it's on page 3, and you would like that to go in section B of the plan. However, the last one, to provide fine motor activities to develop Mike's ability to grasp and control his pencil, to be provided in a small group. Again, you can see it's from the occupational therapist report and it's on page 4. You want that to go into section F because that's a provision. However, what you're wanting the local authority to confirm with the occupational therapist is how often he should have small group work for this fine motor skills, and then for that to be added to the plan for quantification too. Make notes of any points you wish to discuss in mediation. You may be asked to say a little bit about your child at the beginning of the mediation meeting. If you think you'll find this overwhelming or that you worry your words will fail you, then make some notes in advance. It's good to share some of the positives about your child as well as some of the areas you're worried about and the reasons why you're requesting the changes to the EHC plan. Be prepared for the need for further actions. If your mediation is also about section I of the EHC plan, which is the school named, then the local authority representative may have other actions they would need to consider first rather than being able to agree to the change of setting. Although the local authority must bring someone who is able to make decisions, this doesn't overturn the need for providing schools with the opportunity to consult. So in readiness for your mediation, you may wish to request a copy of the consultation responses gathered so far and have done your homework about which school you would like to be named instead, including visiting the school if at all possible. So here's some practical tips for the mediation meeting itself. Be prepared to both talk and to listen. All parties will be provided with the time to share their thoughts. As you've shared your requested changes in advance of the meeting and outlined clearly where your evidence has come from, the local authority may feel in a position where they're able to agree some of the requested changes straight away. This will provide the opportunity to focus on areas where there is less clarity. Stay focused. It can be really easy to get distracted or to get stuck on a specific point. If you feel this is happening, feel able to move on to the next, but ensure that you've noted it that there's still some work to be done. And remember, the local authority representative must have decision-making powers. They shouldn't need to go back to panel to agree to amend an EHC plan if they are satisfied that the evidence supports the amended requestment. Make your own notes or ask your supporter to do this for you. The mediators are skilled in capturing any agreed actions from the discussions that take place. However, it may also be helpful for you to also take a note of anything that anyone has agreed to do. At the end of the meeting, the mediator should go over these with everyone. You may wish to tick them off your own list too, as they summarise, and offer a polite reminder if you feel some information has been missed. Check agreements are clear and have some timescales attached. All agreements should be clear and have timescales. If this is not the case, then please ask for this to be discussed, agreed and recorded. If there is an agreement to amend an EHC plan at the mediation meeting, the legislation specifies that the local authority must issue an amended EHC plan within 5 weeks of the mediation agreement. If there is agreement to name a different school in mediation, the local authority must issue an amended EHC plan within 2 weeks of the mediation agreement. However, this timescale doesn't apply if there's been a written agreement for different timescales as part of the mediation process. So what happens next? If there's been an agreement to amend the EHC plan, this should be clearly recorded along with any other agreements that were made in the mediation meeting. The mediation agreement will then be sent out to you and the local authority. If you've not received this with your mediation certificate, then contact mediation as soon as possible. The mediator must send you a mediation certificate which shows you participated in mediation within 3 working days of the mediation meeting, unless you only mediated about section I, the school named in the plan, and if that's the case, that you wouldn't be sent a mediation certificate. Your right of appeal, if it's now still needed, will now be either 2 months from the local authority's original decision or 1 month from the date of the mediation certificate, whichever is the later. We hope you found this information within this video helpful, and we wish you well with your future decisions around mediation.